Okay, so we are moving on. We're going to look at slope of a line. Now, this is something that will come up quite a lot in the exam, so it's something you do really need to be familiar with. So just be aware that the slope is denoted by the letter M most commonly. And we would mostly use this formula where back in junior cycle you probably used rise over run, which is the same thing, the vertical change. So the change on the vertical axis, so this is the y-axis. So to find the change on the y-axis, you look at this point down to this point, which is y2 minus y1, or it is also the rise, so how much it's rising. So, but we can find it by saying, well, subtract y2 from y1, or subtract y1 from y2, I should say. And then the run is the difference between the two x values as well. So that's that part there. So the formula to find the slope is you take y2 minus y1 and divide it by x2 minus x1. So divide the rise over the run. So how far the slope is rising up and how far it's going across as well. So let's take a look at a couple of examples. Oh, actually, before we do some examples, it's really important as well. This is something that comes up a lot. So when we have two parallel lines, the slope is the same. So slope of parallel lines are equal. So here, this slope is 3 over 2, this slope is 3 over 2. They're parallel lines, they're never going to meet, so the slopes are the same. Now down here we have perpendicular lines. So perpendicular lines are those lines that meet, with a right angle in between them, or 90 degrees in between them. And what we find with these is if we multiply the slope of two lines that are perpendicular, so in this case the slope of this line here is minus 2 over 3, and the slope of this line here is 3 over 2. And to find out if they're perpendicular is if we multiply these two slopes together, we should get minus 1. Okay, so let's take a look at this. When we multiply fractions, we just multiply the top by the top and the bottom by the bottom. So we have minus multiplied by a plus, so it's going to be a minus. 2 multiplied by 3 is 6. 3 multiplied by 2 is also 6. So 6 divided into minus 6 is equal to minus 1. Therefore, these are perpendicular. Okay, so if the slopes, when you multiply them together, you get minus 1, that tells you that they are perpendicular. So let's take a look at a couple of example questions. Okay, so find the slope of the line AB in each of the following. So again, like in my other examples, I'm going to pick a question that's all positive and then pick a question with a few negative numbers in there, just so that we can have a practice of doing both. So first thing to do, I always say you should write down the formula. So we have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So find the formula that you need, write it on the page and have it there to refer to. So our first point is 3, 1 and 5, 3. And I'm going to go ahead and just label this as x1, y1, x2, y2. And now I'm going to substitute these into this formula here. So m is equal to y2, which is 3, minus y1, which is 1, over x2, which is 5, minus x1, which is 3. So that's the same as 2 over 2, which is equal to 1. So the slope here is 1. Okay, so now let's take a look at the other one that I picked out there. So this is going to have more negative numbers. So here we have minus 3, 2, and we have minus 5, 0. And again, let's label this up. So we have x1, y1, x2, y2. And we're going to put them into our formula. So y2 is 0. And y1 is 2, so it's 0 minus 2. And then on the bottom we have x2 is minus 5, minus 5 minus x1, so it's minus 3. Okay, so just remember that the minus is part of the formula, so it needs to be there, and this minus comes from the minus 3. So both those minuses need to be there. 0 minus 2 is equal to minus 2. And then here we have minus 5 minus 3 is minus 5 plus 3. So minus 5 plus 3 is minus 2. Okay, and then minus into minus is positive, 2 into 2 is 1. So the slope for this is actually also 1. Okay. Now, one more over here. The slope of the line L is 3 over 4. Write down the slope of line M if M is parallel. So parallel slopes are equal. So the slope of M is equal to 3 over 4. Write down the slope of the line N if N is perpendicular. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, perpendicular lines, to get the slope of a line perpendicular, what you do is you get the reciprocal. So in other words, turn the fraction upside down, put the 4 on the bottom, put the 4 on the top and the 3 on the bottom, and change the sign. So this is positive, this is negative. Okay, so the slope is minus 4 over 3, and I'm going to show you if you multiply them together, 3 over 4 multiplied by minus 4 over 3. This is positive, so positive by negative is negative. 3 by 4 is 12. 4 by 3 is 12. If you divide them in, you get minus 1. And we know that the slope of perpendicular lines, if we multiply them together, is minus 1. So this is correct. Okay, hopefully that's helpful.